We want to welcome you to our weekly virtual town hall meeting. Today is August 6th, 6 p.m. We'd like to thank you for tuning in, those who are on Facebook, YouTube, and those who are going to be on our phone line. We really appreciate all of you. This is our 21st week that we have been hosting our COVID-19 meetings. And as we host these meetings, we continue to give you updates on the numbers of the COVID. And Dr. Griffin would definitely oblige you with the numbers and some other information pertaining to the COVID. But tonight we're very honored to have with us, because during our town hall meetings we have been speaking about several different initiatives and different things that we're doing here in the city of East Orange and different programs that we have. And it gives us great pleasure tonight to really talk about a program that we're going to be launching here in the city of East Orange, and that's going to really benefit our residents. But we're more than happy to have with us from the New Jersey NJRA, Dal Godfrey here, also Development and Policy, Dan Jennings, and everyone knows a young lady who has been with us from day one, who has been really holding the fort down with our Health and Human Services Department, Dr. Monique Griffin. So tonight we're going to have a conversation around not only rental assistance, but also a conversation around some of the small business owners and some of the experiences, things that they can be helpful with. So again, I want to very quickly have Dr. Griffin give our update on our COVID-19 and the numbers that we have of today, and then we're going to immediately go right into our segment of our rental assistant program, and also share some information for our small business lease emergency assistance grant program. So again, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. As we spoke about last week Thursday during the virtual town hall, we're watching what's happening nationally with regard to our COVID numbers. Here in New Jersey, within the state, we currently have 183,701 positive cases of the coronavirus. That represents an increase in about 2,731 cases since last week. Within Essex County, the total number of positive cases is currently 19,715, and that represents an increase in 216 cases since last week. Here within the city of East Orange, we have a total of 2,034 positive cases. This is again the beginning of the deaths. We currently have a total of 227 deaths, which represents an increase in 4. And so it's important to talk a little bit about the changes and talk about the increases, because what we're realizing and what we're seeing is that nationally, again, there's an increase. There's spikes in a lot of states. We're not seeing a spike here, and that really is a testament to what the community is doing and how seriously the community is taking the safety, the health encourage you enough and stress enough that it's still important to do all of the things that you have been doing. And if you don't know if you have caught or contracted the virus, it's important for you to get tested. If you've been traveling and you just recently came back, it's important for you to get tested again so that you know where you are, know your status. Even if you're not feeling symptomatic, it's still very important for you to know, so that you continue to protect your loved ones, but you also play a part in the larger community in keeping everyone safe. So again, get tested if you don't know where you stand, and know that if you don't have a place to go, there are a lot of places that are now available here within the city, but also within the state. But if you don't know where you can go, on Friday, actually tomorrow, August 7th, we are opening our municipal testing site at 161 Elmwood Avenue. If you were interested in getting tested, at this point you don't even need to schedule an appointment due to the late nature of this notification. We know that we had sent some information out, but if you change your mind and you do want to get tested tomorrow, you can arrive at the site, and the site will be open from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So please get tested. Please remember to wear your masks, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, and most importantly, distance yourself from other people. If you go into places and they're not wearing masks, you don't have to stay. You know what you need to do, but also make sure that we know so that we can all collectively work together to keep the city safe.
Thank you very much, Dr. Griffin. I hope that all our listeners and those who are watching via YouTube and on the Facebook page, I just want to give a telephone number out on those who wants to join the webinar. That number is 929-205-6099. That's how you join the webinar. So with that, every week for the last 21 weeks, Dr. Griffin has been giving out the information and how important it is to continue to get tests and continue to really practice social distance. We've been talking about it every week, every day on our nightly updates. So again, East Orange, we have to continue to make sure we stay vigilant, because again, as well as we think that some of these numbers are dropping, those numbers are going up, and you see that the governor is starting to really put some restrictions on some of the things that we was doing, and he's going to put some restrictions on the things that we cannot do again. So we're asking all of our East Orange family to continue to help us so we can help you and help your families and your friends and the neighbors in the community to stay safe, and making sure that our numbers are not going up here in the city of East Orange. So with that, I want to go right into our guest tonight. We have Dal Godfrey here, who is representing the NJRA, and we're very happy to have Dal with us this evening. So Mr. Godfrey, if you don't mind, if you got an opening, and then I have some questions for you, because we know how important during this COVID, some of our small businesses really took a tremendous hit, right? And my question to you and your organization, what type of program, how can that program help many of our store owners? And please tell us about the program.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor Ted Green, for having me here today. I feel like I'm home in some cases. I live right next door. But more importantly, let's give you the audience a little backdrop of what the New Jersey redevelopment does. I mean, the primary purpose of the New Jersey redevelopment that started in 1996 was really help revitalize four municipal communities in the state of New Jersey, and they're urban communities, from as far down as Salem, New Jersey, to as far up as Patterson. And it's really, we wanted to try to do reinvestment in areas that were disinvested. And some of the cities are like East Orange, Newark, Patterson. But today, I mean, I'm just ecstatic because we designed a program that is specifically geared to help small businesses that have been negatively affected by COVID-19. But this cannot be done without our President, Leslie Anderson, who's been steering the organization for 20 years, in addition to our mayor, our governor, Phil Murphy, and your resident, our one and only Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. I mean, without them, this program would not be where it is today. So the program is a $6 million program where we're going to give out grants of $10,000 to small businesses that have been negatively affected by COVID, but are experiencing some loss in their revenues that created the loss in them, created the problem with their ability to, or inability to pay their rent. So we're going to give them grants up to $10,000 to help them in that process. And like I said, it's for 64 communities, $6 million. The program launches on August the 10th at 9 a.m. So what I would say is everyone just get ready, a small business that has been negatively affected, go to njra.us and you will be able to see the application and you'll be able to submit it for possible grant financing. Once again, this is not a loan. This is a grant. So you don't have to pay the money back. as compared to some of the other loans that are out there in the marketplace. But this is a grant. And so as I drove here today, I went to Main Street. I was on Park Avenue, Central Avenue. And I see some businesses closed, and they may have been negatively impacted by COVID. We did an analysis that showed that 54% of small businesses will not come back in business due to COVID-19. That is horrific. That affected the community. So we dug our heels in, and we said, how could we help them going forward? So this is a process where here's a grant. Obviously, it's going to be competitive, first come, first served. But this is a way of us trying to revive communities that the mayor and also the director of business development, Dan Jennings, are trying to help. So we are just love to be here today. We love to try to spearhead this with them. And this is going to be a team effort. And we understand this will not be enough, but if we can just keep something to stabilize the businesses in the communities that we serve, the 64 throughout New Jersey, it will be a home run for all of us, particularly in the city of East Orange.
So I have a question. What businesses are eligible for the grant program, and are there any businesses that are not eligible for the program? So how do it work?
Okay, so the businesses, excellent question, Mr. Mayor. So the businesses that are eligible are a small business leasing commercial space in a mixed-use building, a small business leasing space in a commercial building. But one of the things they have to be cognizant of is it goes to by the square footage. So they can't have a space that at least that is more than 5,000 square feet. And that will be on the application, and we're going to identify that really by them being truthful to us and telling us. But also we're going to do some Google searches to make sure it fits the parameters. Because what we don't want to do is for these big warehouses or these big businesses to come and take away from a great opportunity that is designed to help bodegas, to help the salons that are in the area. So we want to make sure it's targeted at those small businesses that are clearly suffering and that was closed when the government shut it down in the right way during the COVID-19 pandemic that we faced really for the last 90 days. It's a lot looser now. They're open, but they're suffering.
So what are the requirements for a person to apply?
Well, the requirements, like I said, on August the 10th, you will see on our website, njra.us, the application goes on. The requirements that you have to have a lease that shows that you clearly have the space in the amount. The other requirement is really that you have a certificate of occupancy, shows that, and really those are the two simple things that we need. We tried to make the application process very efficient and very fluid. Some of the loan processes that were PPP and some of the other ones required a lot of documentation. We went in the other direction. We're just saying, show us that you have an agreement with your landlord. Now remember, the grant proceeds will go directly to the landlord. And so we're going to make sure, but also make sure you have a relationship with the landlord, make sure he or she is, is going to let you stay there once you give the money. Because one thing that we don't want to do is give them the money and then the landlord kicks you out. So the landlord is going to have to certify that he or she is not going to kick you out. So we're trying to make it tight, but the onus is on you and the landlord and making sure that landlord agreement is tight.
Great. I think that's some great information. I know for a fact that those who are watching out really going to make sure that they go to that website. But let me ask a question. Are there specific, in terms of who qualifies? Can elected officials, can people in government that owns a business outside of being in government? How do it work? Who are not eligible for this type of?
Well, it really depends on the type. The store is really the the entity that probably won't be qualified. A bar doesn't qualify. A pornography doesn't qualify. But any individual who is legitimate can provide information that they own it, and that two things: they can lease the space. If they're the owner, we can't go directly to the owner. We have to make sure that he has two contingent businesses, and that we will give the money if he shows he's delinquent, or we will pay further rent. But it can go to anyone. Like as long as they're in good standing. Okay. There's a debarment questionnaire that makes sure there's nothing wrong with them legally too. Right. So we're going to do our.
No, that's good to hear. So yeah. What is the maximum amount that will be awarded to those who successfully applied for the.
The maximum amount you can see, Mr. Mayor, is $10,000.
That's the max.
You got the max, but in some cases maybe less. So we have,
Okay.
like I said, we're going to look at the lease agreement and we're going to
And
determine.
after 5 years,
No,
it's forgivable?
No, it's forgivable when the money goes out. It's a grant.
Right, so.
There's no forgivable thing.
As long as they stay in that.
Long as they stay there and, the landlord says fine.
Wow, great.
So I say it's a great tool that we feel is going to hit the marketplace that really, when you look at the main streets, the Central Avenue, the Park Avenue, a lot of these people have been negatively affected and they can't survive. So why are we going to put all these requirements on them to make sure that, they're not going to be able to do it? So we're not saying give you a loan, because most small businesses clearly do not want to take on more debt. We took away from that. That's why we're giving the grant.
Great, I think this is excellent. Give out that website again where people can go to and apply for this $10,000. So y'all got $6 million in a grant, and that's going to be spread out to the different
We
municipalities.
have 64 municipalities.
All right,
throughout the
make
state
sure
of
you
New
keep
Jersey.
at least 2 for each storm,
Yeah.
right?
That's why I'm here today.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very
So
much.
more importantly, is that the
Yeah.
website is njra.us. njra.us. I have a phone number here that people can call to. It's 609-292-3739. 609-292-3739 from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. where you have hired additional crew of like 14 interns who will be manning the phones and asking the questions, because we felt that particularly with some of the programs that are out there, people couldn't talk to someone live. So we hired some people, interns, young kids from the community to, college, kids that can talk and, communicate well to really get to our customers.
That's good, man, and I really appreciate that. What if a business is fairly new? Will it still be eligible?
Yes.
Okay, great.
The key thing, Mr. Mayor, is that lease agreement. That's the key in making sure the term is sufficient and making sure the landlord's involved. That's the key.
That's great. So let me just say this to all those who are watching in reference to the this program, Small Business Lease Emergency Assistance Grant Program. Please take that number down. Please go on that website if you need the help. This is a great way to jumpstart all of us back into the business. We know how these last 21 weeks have been for many businesses and also many renters, and we're going to go into that conversation next. So again, I hope that you have that number, njrs.us.
NJRA, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
NJRA.us. That's the website you have to go to. So we thank you very much. But let me ask you also, Mr. Garfield, before we move on to Dan Jennings, right? Oftentimes, is that especially with online applications, right? Applicants submit an application, and then it's completed, and then sometimes also they get eliminated. How that work? How do a person, once I go online, I fill out the application, I put all my information in, who notifies me that I either got approved or I didn't get approved? How many days, how many weeks, how do it work?
So we're going to notify you, immediately that we received it, and then we're going to tell you if you've been approved or didn't approve. What we can't promise you is the time frame, because what we did in understanding and putting this together, that most of the programs that are out there were oversubscribed. When the New Jersey EDA did their program, they had 35,000 applicants in a day, and we're going to get a lot of applicants.
Right,
so
right.
We promise to you that we will get back to you, and you will get certified that we did receive it. But in terms of the timing, we're trying to making sure that the money's on the street. So we put a time frame that I'm not willing to share, but it's not long, I can tell you.
Right.
We will, and like I said, you can call us, 609-292-3739. We will communicate with you.
Thank you. So, applicant put in the application, the process start. What happens if, for instance, I missed a question on that application? Do someone call, or do they email me and say, hey, you missed question number
Yes.
13, 14?
Yes.
But does that eliminate me from still participating in the process of my application?
I
It kicks
wouldn't-
everything back?
I wouldn't say it eliminate kicks things back, because, you know, because of the need out there, Mr. Mayor, you know, it's really important for people to just go on the website today, and you'll see, and get the information that is needed. And then be ready at 9 a.m. on August 10th to submit your application. Because of the number of people that are going to be filling it out, it's going to be very hard for us to, you know, say you didn't fill out A, B, or C, and then you get back to you, but the money could be gone by that time.
All
So it's really important that you fill it out to the
So they
best
have to
you
be
can.
ready by August 10th?
They should be, not have to, they should be.
Okay, all right, well, you know, thank you for that. So, Mr. Godfrey, thank you. I'm definitely gonna come back, to you. Right, no, this is good. I hope everybody listen. So with that, as we talk about small businesses, we now also know that during this COVID-19, many of our residents, right, has been, you know, really in a dilemma where folks had to, you know, leave work. Folks had to start collecting unemployment, and we went through that phase with bringing guest speakers on and talking about how they apply. And now we are here today with our director, Dan Jennings, of our planning and policy department. But Dan, I'm just going to get right into it, man, because I think that this program that we're about to launch here in the city of East Orange with our rental assist, I think it speaks volumes in terms of the direction not only that we are going in the city of East Orange, but it also shows that as a city that we want to make sure we do everything we can to make sure our renters, who are very valuable here in this community, have a way to get help and not being pushed out of their apartments. I quite often say that here in our city, a person shouldn't have to make a decision between either paying rent or buying food. You know, that shouldn't have to happen. So with that, Dan, I just want you to really start giving us some information about your department and also bring us up to speed about our rental assistance program that we're about to launch.
So good evening. Thank you, Mayor, for inviting me to participate. So my name is Dan Jennings, Director of Policy Planning and Development. We oversee most of the projects that are happening in the city. We entitle them. They go through site plan approval, zoning board approval. They go for incentive programs. But in addition to managing projects, we also work and help our small businesses. And as the mayor pointed out, and as Darrell Godfrey pointed out, our small businesses are in desperate need during this crisis. A lot of them have been negatively affected, closed, having a difficult time paying bills. So we've attempted to step up to help them. In fact, please go to EO Shops Local, EO Shops, SHOPS, local.com. We're going to be advertising the program by NJRA and other resources that businesses can access. In fact, one of the things I want to applaud East Orange businesses is that some of our businesses have been able to take advantage of the resources that have been available. I think 10 businesses just took advantage of the NJEDA grant program. But we know that there's so much more need, and we're so happy that NJRA is stepping up with this great program. So just like businesses are struggling to pay rent, Mayor, you and the City Council recognize that our residents are struggling to pay rent during the pandemic. And we also know that even though there are programs, measures that the state and federal government have taken, whether it's a moratorium or evictions, or even the state level, you know, there's a program at DCA to cover rent. We know that programs are oversubscribed. The need is just tremendous. And there's way more demand than supply. So thanks to your leadership, the leadership of our City Council, we're launching this rental assistance program on August 17th. Under this program, if you're a household and you make up to 80% of the area median income, you may be eligible to receive up to 3 months in rent payments or a maximum award of $3,600. So let me just give you an example. If you're a family of 3 or a household of 3, your income cannot exceed $70,650 a year. So, so a couple other things I just want to point out. The income or the ability to get access to the program depends on a COVID reason. So, for example, the pandemic started in March, and as a result, if you were laid off or your job was terminated, and you can prove that, and you in your household again makes under the 80% of area median income, you may be eligible for this program. Now, we've partnered with 3 nonprofit organizations to carry out this program. I'm going to mention the 3 now. There's Isaiah House here in East Orange. There's the East Orange Community Development Center, and there's also NJ Shares. Let me just quickly give out the numbers to Isaiah House and the East Orange Community Development Center. The phone number for Isaiah House is 973-678-5882, extension 3020. The phone number for the East Orange Community Development Center is 973-266-5347. So, again, the program launches August 21st. However, if you leave a message, they'll likely return your call before then. And this is very important. There'll be no walk-ins. We're trying to maintain social distancing guidelines, so we're going to do everything either online or through phone or email to maintain social distancing guidelines.
All right. So, quick question: what would be the maximum amount that a resident can receive? What's the maximum amount?
$3,600.
$3,600.
Or 3 months of rent. So, for instance, if your rent 3 months of rent total $3,000, that's the most you can get.
And who do that money go to?
The landlord. Just like the NJRA program, we are going to our partners are going to cut a check to the landlord.
Great. That's good. So $3,600. The landlord has to be involved in it. Is there some type of letter or some type of information that the renter has to bring to these agencies to show that they are behind in their rent? How does this process work?
Good question, Mayor. So look, the landlord's going to have to produce proof that they've had a job loss or termination that's COVID related. So for instance, a layoff letter is an example of the proof that a tenant can show. In addition, we're also going to require the landlord to pledge cooperation, so the landlord will have to certify that the tenant is behind and they're willing to work with the tenant. Because one thing we don't want to do is cut a check and see that next month the landlord's trying to evict the tenant. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so there has to be some type of agreement and understanding in place.
That's right.
I think that's a good thing. So applicants cannot make more than 80% of the city's median income. What is East Orange median income?
Well, good question. It really depends on the size of the household, so it varies. So for instance, if you're a single person, your household income cannot exceed $54,000 roughly. If you're a family of 5, your income cannot exceed $84,800 a year.
Great. Well, that's good to know. I think people need to know that. How long would it take for, as the question I asked earlier, before an applicant knows that they have been approved for the program? Is it 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What is the timeline?
So the goal is to keep it under 14 business days or 2 weeks. But again, as Mr. Godfrey pointed out for the NJRA's program, we know that we're going to be oversubscribed.
Right.
And we know that on August 17th, when the application, when the program is launched and applications are downloaded or secured, we're going to get a deluge. So
okay.
We're hoping to keep it under 2 weeks, but please don't hold me to it.
Great, great. So the state's rental assistance program selects recipients, right? Through a lottery system. Is it through a lottery system?
No,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mayor. So no, we're going to do application on a first come first served basis. So it's important that you read the guidelines and fill out the application correctly.
And that's online?
The application will be available online,
Okay,
yes. We know that in terms of some of our constituents, some have the ability to use email or internet access, some don't. So we'll provide multiple means for people to secure the application and turn in the application.
wow, okay, all right. Because I think people need to know that, because I know that, what's the dollar amount that's in this rental assistance? It's,
So far, we've budgeted $600,000.
mm-hmm,
So that represents most of the COVID Community Development Block Grant Award that the city of East Orange secured from the federal government.
Right.
And you and the city council determined we should use most of those dollars for this program.
right, so is this also forgivable? Do people have to pay this money back? How do it work?
No, we're not asking people to pay this back. We recognize, again, one of the worst things you can do is give people extra debt. So we will cut a check for the landlord, but again, we need cooperation from the landlord.
Right, and which is, I think it's gonna be so important, because the letter has to make sure it goes to those agencies saying that they're behind in their rent. I know this is a great program, because I know that my department, the mayor's office, and our constituent services, we get calls quite frequently asking where are some of the programs where they can get help for rental assistance. So I know for a fact that probably when we go to our calls, that our phones are going to be ringing off the chain tomorrow in terms of how folks can make sure they get the information. But what I want to do, Mr. Godfrey and Dan Dennis, just very quickly, I want to go to our phone lines, because many times when we have these meetings, there are questions out there. And I just want y'all, if there's some questions out there for either Dr. Griffin or for Dal Godfrey or Dan Jennings, we want to take, even for myself, we want to make sure we take those calls. So Connie Jackson, can you give us some either Facebook or YouTube or a call that's coming in?
So we've got a few questions from Facebook. I'll start with Maricela Gonzalez. She says that her husband's job has been reduced due to COVID-19, and she'd like to know if there are any assistance programs or grants for homeowners who can't afford to make major repairs to their homes. So Dan?
So we actually do have a rehab program that is not dependent on a COVID event. If you're in a household and you make up to 80% of the area of median income, you may qualify. Amber Montgomery in our department administers that program, so please contact us. She can give you the information and determine if you're eligible. Now, in terms of the types of repairs you can make to your home, we're talking about things like roofs, fixing the roofs. If there's a boiler that's going out, you can get a boiler replaced. Certain things are not eligible, so like for instance, getting an air conditioner unfortunately is not an eligible item. So, but again, contact Amber Montgomery in our department if you have any questions.
If I may, Mayor, the Health Department also has funding for some renovations that actually serves as a complement to what Director Jennings was sharing. We know that we have older housing stock here within the city, and so the Health Department does offer grant funding if there are homes that are either homeowner occupied or owner occupied or tenant occupied. If you have lead present in your home, we're able to come out, evaluate for that. And so if you have questions related to how you are and if you are eligible for that funding as well, you can certainly contact the Health Department. Rasan Salam is actually the program manager of that particular program, but he'll be able to guide you through that. And it's a lead hazard control and healthy homes funding that we do have as well.
Thank you, Dr. Griffin. Can you give the folks out there a telephone number and that they can call and an email?
Absolutely. So the telephone number for the Health Department that you can call is 973-266-5490. And then the email address that you can utilize to contact Rasan Salam will be rasan.salam@eastorange-nj.gov.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Griffiths, for that. Connie, do we have any more questions on Facebook?
Well, I did want to tag on to that and ask, in this particular instance, Ms. Gonzalez was concerned about mold. Is mold covered under either one of these programs?
Yes.
Mold is covered under the health department's program, and so we can go in, and that's a part of the Healthy Homes component. We want to make sure, especially now that there's so many individuals spending so much more time within their homes, that we provide support in making the home healthy. So we can support that as well.
Great. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Any more questions, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, I've got another question from Tarana Peaches, and this would be for Dr. Griffith. Tarana would like to take the COVID test, however, she is not interested in the nose swab. Are there any other options? She's clearly not the only one. We've heard this from many people, so please tell East Orange if there are other options besides the nose swab.
There are other options. One of the things that we say is that the nasal swab is preferred because of the accuracy of the test when you take the nasal swab. What we're finding is that even though the oral swab is an option as well, oftentimes there are a lot of individuals who take the sputum sample from the oral swab or the throat, and they have greater issues with trying to detect COVID. So the recommendation is, if you can take the nasal test, even though you might feel a little uncomfortable doing it, do so. If you can't, know that you can opt for the oral swab, but there are some existing concerns related to that.
Wow. Yeah, I know people have problems with the nose. I know when I had to do it, it wasn't a good feeling at all. I start watering, but it's so important to take the test. So as Dr. Griffin just gave that information out, you have a choice through your nose or through the mouth swab. So take advantage of either or. So Connie, let's take some more questions right quick.
Well, this question I'm going to ask will help you to segue into talking about the aftermath of the storm. This question is from Jonathan Davis. He wants to know, what are we doing to support the people without power right now? His mother, for example, uses a CPAP machine and she needs power. And in his area, the estimated time, he's being told, is Sunday for restoration. Right,
and let me just say to everyone out there who has been affected by this previous storm that was on Tuesday, and I have to be truthful, our DPW department has been out there from day one, cutting down the trees and getting tree stumps up and branches, but we have been in contact with public service and electric and gas, and they're really doing the best they can. I know they gave some timelines out. My chief of staff and I, along with property maintenance, we was out there early today, going around to some of the areas. I know this can be very tedious, but I know that we're doing everything we can. Public service is doing everything they can. DPW department is doing everything they can. But we're trying to make sure that they expedite a lot of these to get the lines back on track and get the lines up. But we're asking everybody to have patience. And I know that's hard to say when you are in your house with no lights or no electric. It's a hard thing to say because you're in that house. But if any way we can help, please call our Mayor's Office of Constituent Service, and we'll do the best we can with whatever resources we have. But again, we're doing everything we can, working with our partners, with the Public Service Department, DPW, our fire department, police, to get these lines back up. So we truly apologize if it's taken a long time, but this storm has really affected a lot of areas, not only East Orange, but other cities and other towns. So I just ask everybody to stay patient, but if we can be of any help, and if there's, our neighbors or family members that you can go to just temporarily to at least have some type of, shelter and be where you can, feel safe, please do that, but we are doing everything we can, and hopefully tonight we get some of the lobby lights back on. But Public Service did give some estimates of some times that they feel that the lights will go back on. But again, they're doing the best they can with what they have. And we're going to be back out there immediately after the show of this meeting. We'll be back out there again trying to do what I can do as the mayor and my chief of staff to, to help any kind of way we can.
So Mayor, I do have a question actually that Dan Jennings might be able to answer from Deborah Thomas.
Deborah Thomas?
Yes. She says the old Board of Ed on Park Avenue and the American Benefits Group building on Washington Street have been vacant for years and both are eyesores. Any discussion on renovating or converting them into apartments? They're ideal locations.
So yes, actually at the urging of Councilman Linius, we are putting those buildings or making them eligible for redevelopment. And we need to have a conversation with the Board of Education because they control the real estate and the school, I guess, development authority to talk about their future plans for the building to see if they're open to redevelopment.
Okay. Dr. Griffith, Rosemary would like to know, do you have to show any type of health insurance coverage to be tested at the Elmwood site?
Yes, for those who are interested in obtaining testing at the Elmwood location. Even though you might be able to walk up, we would still need proof of insurance. And that's because the insurance companies are paying for the actual test. So the cost is not something that you would be responsible for. Insurance companies are still absorbing the cost of the actual test.
Right. Connie, before we go to another question, I do have a question for Mr. Dow Godfrey and Dan Jennings. In the city of East Orange, we have a large population of Spanish, Creole speaking, population here in our city. Will these assistants be available for those who need it? And when I say that, so on this meeting tonight, we may have a Spanish-speaking family or person and Creole, or these assistant programs in the language of, so they can also apply for the assistance.
Yes, for the New Jersey Redevelopment Small Business Lease Emergency Assistance Program, clearly we would have it in 11 different languages.
Right.
So we are well aware of, particularly in our urban areas, that is multi-ethnic and immigrant population. So 11 languages, and so we are happy to be able to provide that to our 64 municipalities.
Yeah, that's great. So you hear that out there? We have 11 different languages.
Yes.
That folks can go to or press the prompt, and it'll give you the same information to apply for these programs. Dan Jennings, I know that we quite often, we know the population here, the Creole and the Spanish. What are we doing in terms of your department to make sure that that population of folks are eligible, not eligible, but get the information?
Yeah, so the answer is different languages will be accommodated. All the partners have bilingual capabilities. In fact, I'm also told that there will also be, the services will be available for those who are legally impaired.
Right. Great. That's good. Connie, do we have any more telephone comments, folks that's on the line?
No, not right now. I do have a question that was sent previously. Last week there was a terrible accident on Freeway Drive, and 26-year-old Stephen Allen Jr. of Orange lost his life. On behalf of the City of East Orange, we want to express our deepest condolences to his family and his loved ones. And many residents have expressed their concern about riding in East Orange, and we'd like to ask if the city has any future plans to make the city more bike-friendly for cyclists.
So the answer is yes. We're designing bike lanes for several corridors, including Park Avenue, Main Street, and Freeway Drive. We don't have dates yet when those bike lanes will be implemented or constructed, but we're definitely looking to make the city more bicycle friendly.
Can you repeat where again?
Park Avenue, Main Street. In fact, we just finished a design for new streetscape along Main Street, and we incorporated bike lanes in the design for the streetscape. And then also Freeway Drive, we're looking to put bike lanes along Freeway Drive.
Great. So with that, I mean, that's good to know, man, because I know that for a fact, during this COVID, if you haven't noticed, that many people are now on bikes, right? Even mopeds have become back popular. And I think that is such fitting for our city to know that the few folks, I mean, I'm a biker, you know, I like riding my bike, that we know for a fact that now we can have some lanes where we can go through our city and feel safe. You know, I think that's so important because there's a lot of people on bikes, you know, and a lot of people are exercising and moving around the city. And one thing that I think that is important, that folks who are out on these bikes, that they can feel safe. But we do want all our bikers and young people to, you know, get a helmet. Make sure you put on the helmet. Make sure you put that light on the bike. If you have to wear your elbow pads, I think it's so important to make sure you're properly prepared in case you fall or accident happen. But that bike helmet is so important, and we're asking you. And matter of fact, here in the city of East Orange, I sat on council. We have a city ordinance for our bike riders, that if you're riding a bike in the parks, around the park, or through the streets, that you actually have to wear a helmet. So that has been a city ordinance since, well, I came in on 2005, since 2006, 2007. So you have to comply to that. And it is important for all of us who ride bikes for our safety also. So I just want to kind of bounce around with everyone because we got a lot of information tonight, right? And information that has been provided from our rental assistant until our small business leasing emergency assistance grant program. So Mr. Godfrey, are there anything else out there that these folks should know in reference to the small business leasing emergency assistance program? Is there anything else that will assist our residents in making sure that they are in the mix of this $6 million? And as I said earlier, you know, this makes sure East Orange get $2 million of that. We're not going to complain about that. But is there anything else that you would like to share with the folks who are watching tonight?
The most important thing I would say, be ready on August 10th to submit your application at 9 a.m. Like some churches, some other organizations. As I said, if you're renting a space and you felt delinquent or you want to make current payments, I mean, just have the lease agreement, go online to, I have it online, it's SBL EAGP, SBL EAGP at njra.us, or the telephone number, once again, 609-292-3739.
Thank you, Mr. God. I'm quite sure folks out there really taking these numbers down, because with that type of grant program, especially going through this pandemic and this COVID-19, I know people can use the help, and that's why we're so very fortunate to have you on our weekly meeting this week, because I knew how important that this program would be to the residents and those small businesses here in the city of East Orange, so we really appreciate it. So Dan, and I just want to go to you, because I know that here in our city, we're doing a lot under your department, policy planning and development. Is there any other development, is there any other programs that are in the pipeline that would be coming soon to our residents I just want to give you a chance to talk about some of the
Yeah.
things that you're doing in your department.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Also, I want to make an earlier clarification. I think one of the callers was mentioning actually the old Board of Ed headquarter building at 715 Park Avenue. So that building is being converted as we speak into apartments. There are a couple other vacant buildings, Board of Ed buildings, but that building was sold to a developer a couple of years ago, and the work has commenced on that building. There's going to be 100+ apartments in that building. In terms of other things happening, so the City Council recently passed a resolution to allow outdoor dining. So we want to work with our takeout places or our eateries that are interested in having seating outdoors. So please, contact us. There's a simple application they can fill out. We want to work with them. We want to make it safe, but we realize that the outdoor dining situation is a trend. So please contact us about that. And Mayor, we are continuously looking at ways we can help our small businesses get to the next level. So again, working with NJRA, EDA, other partners, we've been offering classes for folks to get into business. I think our focus going forward is going to be offering resources for folks who are already in business and getting to the next level. In fact, we're working on developing a small loan grant program.
Great.
Under your leadership, City Council leadership. So again, over the next few months, you're going to hear about more initiatives for our small businesses.
Right. So Dan, very quickly, if you can, I know we talked about it earlier, there may be some residents who came online or on the Facebook or on the meeting a little late. There's a lot of homeowners out there always trying to find ways to get a boiler fixed, a roof fixed. They're trying to find ways to do some things in the house, the basement walls, or sheetrock or electrical. Talk about that homeowners program again, because I want people to really know how they can apply for that grant program, and that it's income eligible, but also the money do run out. We do run out of the money, and there is some can be a waiting list. So just tell people about that program one more time, because I think it's important during this time that we are talking about assistance.
No, it's definitely been a really great program during your time in office. I mean, I think in 2018 we served approximately 10 homeowners. Last year we went up to 20. I think we're on pace to serve 30 homeowners this year. Part of the reason why is we've partnered with Habitat for Humanity, so we're able to do a lot more intake. And now Amber Montgomery runs that program. She does an excellent job in running that program. And with Habitat as a partner, we're able to figure out very quickly if you're eligible, and if you're eligible, work with you to develop a scope for the renovation. You can receive a grant up to $25,000. So very significant. And again, it's a program that we're going to look to continue and expand.
And thank you. And what that brings me to, I'm going to bounce something over to Dr. Griffin, because I know that, again, we've been here on these weekly meetings for 21 weeks, seeing a little more. And when we talk about seniors, right, and I want Dr. Griffin to just give an overview how important that when we talk about our seniors and folks moving around, with this COVID-19, how our seniors are so vulnerable if we're not careful. Not only seniors, our teenagers, our young people, because I just heard yesterday here in one of our meetings that there was a 7-month-old baby, and it really kind of pushed me back a little last night when I was giving out the numbers, and I had to convey a 7-month-old baby who is affected with COVID. And I can't imagine, even when we had our own councilman Mustafa Brett on this show, and he talked about how hard it was for him. And when you speak of a 7-month-old baby, I can't imagine. So I just want you to really just kind of drive this home before we get off tonight, the importance of how our seniors are so vulnerable and how important it is to make sure that we're not traveling and not telling folks where we're going or how we're doing it. And then we get back to the house and we're around our seniors, our parents, teenagers, how people can get affected. So can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right. We are aware of one of the youngest cases of individuals who succumbed to or was impacted by COVID, and that was a 7-month-old child. And one of the things that we've been focusing on since the beginning of the pandemic is the vulnerability of seniors. But one of the things that we realize is that there are so many individuals who may be in that teenage to young adult bracket that have been moving about, and they don't necessarily think that they're susceptible or could be impacted because there was such an emphasis on seniors being vulnerable. But the reality is that anyone can be impacted by COVID. And even if you are asymptomatic or not experiencing symptoms, it doesn't mean that your loved ones can't be impacted. So for all of the individuals who say that they need a break, there's a little bit of cabin fever, everyone's tired of staying home, and they're hopping on a flight, or they're driving somewhere, or they're going anywhere that they can to try to get out and just get a sense of a new environment. Just remember that you're not doing anyone a favor, not even yourself or your family, if you don't quarantine or isolate when you get back, or if you try to hide that information from anyone. Because the reality is, it doesn't matter if you tell us. The reality is that COVID's not a respecter of persons. So you can impact yourself, you can impact your loved ones, you can impact any grandparents that you have, parents you have, or even children that you're around because of COVID. COVID can be transmitted, and we're still learning more about the impact that it can have on all age ranges, because there are more children that are being identified nationally as being impacted by COVID. Maybe not to the same extent as the ones who are older, but still impacted nevertheless. And we're also still learning more about even chronic conditions that are related to COVID as well. There are individuals who are developing respiratory issues after testing positive for COVID. So the best thing that you can do is to prevent it, which is do everything that you can. Don't get tired about wearing the mask or tired of wearing a mask, and doing all the things that we've been doing since the beginning of the pandemic, because it's better to prevent it than have to intervene or on the people that passed away. There have been recoveries, but there's such variability. So it's better to be safe than sorry.
And Dr. Griffin, thank you very much for that. But I do want to touch on this very quickly before we go off, right? Because the information tonight is so valuable. Like I said earlier, from our rental assistant to our small business information. But again, I want to kind of embark on a conversation that we had last week or a week before last with our, and I know some parents out there that constantly talk about the transformation in terms of how the kids going to re-enter school. I just want to kind of talk about it in a perspective from, as being the mayor, you being our director of Health and Human Services, and let them hear from us. I know the school district is still going to continue to message the people here in our city, but on a health side, what are some of the things that can assure the parents that when these kids do decide to go back to school, whether decision that they make either remotely or send their kids back to school, what are some of the things that they can do right now or should have been doing to practice that safetyness and that healthiness in terms of transitioning back?
Absolutely. The home is the first environment where you learn and where children learn what to do before they even go out into the community or they go into schools. So if you're a parent who is considering sending your child to school as opposed to taking advantage of virtual learning opportunities, then it's important for you to start practicing all of the things that you want your child to do in the school at home. Prepare them by teaching them and having them practice wearing masks during the day. Whenever you go out, teach them how to wash their hands and even practice social distancing, because it's amazing how quickly children absorb the information, and they'll listen to you as a parent, and they'll also follow your example. So it's important for you to model for them exactly what you would want them to do, again, if you choose that option. But we know that there are options, and it's important to stress that. And to your point, Mayor, we're responsible for the entire community. We're not just responsible for school-age children. We're responsible for everyone. And so when looking at it, that's why we speak about the partnership and continuing to communicate with the school district, because we want to make sure that whatever is put in place is consistent with what the CDC and the state has put out. But again, it's important for parents to know that you're empowered too, and you should be empowered because you're charged with the care of your children. So make the decision that is most comfortable for you in terms of what you do with your children, whether you choose virtual learning opportunities because that's what you're comfortable with, versus sending them to the school. But either way, you're the model. So whatever you choose to do, practice that first at home.
Thank you so much, Dr. Griffin, and we're gonna keep driving that. So with that, Mr. Dal Godfrey, Dan Jennings, Dr. Griffin, all those who are watching, we thank you so much. But I just want to close out with just to give you a few numbers, because again, I know that quite a few people are still after the aftermath of this tropical storm, that folks are still out of lights, like we said earlier, and the question came through. But I can tell you, our DPW department is out there doing everything they can. Let me give you the number to Public Service, Electric and Gas. That's 1-800-436-7734. So I know probably by now many of us has reported the outages within our blocks or where we live at, but that's the number you can call. Also for our O, E, and M at 973-677-8924. Call that number if you need any assistance. Also, I'm gonna give you the number to our police department so you can have that, 973-266-5000. Call that number if you're having any problems in terms of emergency. Also, the Mayor's Office of Constituent Services, 973-266-5151. With that, I want to just remind all the residents on this Saturday coming, we have our free shredding day in front of City Hall, 44 City Hall Plaza. This Saturday starting at 8 p.m. to 2 p.m. So if you have some old papers and old income tax and papers that important to you and you don't want to send them out in the garbage, please come over to our free shredding day. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. So please make sure Saturday at 8 p.m. to 2 p.m. in the rear of City Halls. Not in the front, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the rear. Also, I'm going to remind you again for the 100th time, please, the 2020 census are so important for all of us to fill out. If you completed your 2020 census, we thank you. If you didn't complete your 2020 census, we need to tell you how important it is for this city to be counted and get funded. You have noticed probably in the last few months that the advertisement, the telephone calls, make sure that you fill out your 2020 census, complete it, tell your family member, tell your neighbor, call your friends, tell them that we need to be counted and we need you to be counted, because 2020. In Spanish, 468-2020. In Creole, Haitian Creole, 844-477-2020. So make sure you utilize those numbers because we need everybody to be counted. We're going to close out. I thank everyone for being a part of our everybody for tuning in. We continue to ask everyone to practice social distance, to stay vigilant, to make sure that you're washing your hands. Again, 20 seconds. I know you done heard it 1,000 times. When you're out, we're asking everyone to put on your face covering. We ask you to report any incident that you see in the City of East Orange over to our health department. If you walk into a store, you walk into a salon, you walk into a barber shop, you walk in any facility and they're not practicing safely when it comes to noticing. New Jersey did very well, but because a lot of our young people and folks are starting to move around, we're starting to see some of these numbers go up. We cannot allow ourselves the hard work we done put in together. It was a teamwork effort to allow this number to go up again here during the month of August. So I'm gonna ask all of you to stay steadfast. I know it's hard, it's warm outside, people want to be in the park, people want to be at the... If you see somebody out there without that face covering on, please, I know it's hard because people sometimes have a tendency to, lash back out, but just remind them how they're helping all of us to stay safe and healthy if they keep that mask on. It is statistics shows and data shows while us wearing those masks, that's how we got where we at today. So again, with that, we're going to tune back in next week. I thank everyone for tuning in. May God bless you. May God bless your families. And may God bless East Orange. Let's go East Orange.